Доброго дня.
Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. EUSDR continues its working day. The topic is heading of Ukraine in macro-regional strategy EU for Danube region. Do you have connection? Thank you very much. Thank you, EUSDR, for this opportunity to be here, to use this platform. I'm Nadia Afanasieva. I'm the representative of the Institute for International Politics. And today we have a really efficient day, and we want to dedicate our time to the macro-regional EU strategy and the role of Ukraine in the strategy and heading of the strategy, why it is important to speak about it. In 2020, we have an important year when Ukraine may head this organization for the first time among non-member states. And this strategy, starting 2023, according to the new rules in the Danube strategy, the countries will be heading these organizations in alphabetic order. And if you look at English alphabet, we are at the end of the alphabet. That's why for us this is an opportunity to head this organization, and this is a great opportunity for us, and we should use this moment and to work for this. We should have good cooperation with central bodies of executive power between the Office of Euro integration and European integration, between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Regional Development, the Ministry of Regions Development, and also Verkhovna Rada cooperation is needed. So we gathered speakers here and online, and we are going to speak about this issue actively. At the start, I would like to give the floor to Rostislav Termenchuk, head of the board of Ukrainian Institute for International Politics, and Daniel Zabeling here with us, Hans Seidel Foundation Director.
Ми довгий час і готувалися, аналізували ситуацію, наскільки це можливо, які є кращі практики, як інші країни головують в Дунайській стратегії. Тому будемо раді сьогодні подискутувати. І враховуючи те, що 25 числа, тобто на цьому тижні, відбуватиметься координаційний центр з підтримки, з реалізації політики участі України в Дунайській стратегії, тобто наш захід ми розраховували як такий підведення певних рекомендацій, певних пропозицій і діалогу для подальшого врахування, обговорення на координаційному центрі. Нагадаю, координаційний центр створений окремою постановою Кабінету міністрів, куди входять представники керівництва усіх міністерств Кабінету міністрів, хто бере участь в Дунайській стратегії. Тобто це 12 напрямків Дунайської стратегії, і за кожен з них відповідає окреме міністерство, плюс до того залучені відповідні департаменти, які займаються реалізацією Дунайської транснаціональної програми, урядовий офіс і, звичайно, окремий вимір, чому ми, власне, сьогодні будемо говорити. Я бачу, тут підключений до вас пан Вадим Галайчук. Я дуже радий їхній участі. Це пов'язано, власне, через те, що в програмі головування країни в Дунайській стратегії нещодавно було прийнято рішення про те, що країна, яка головує, теж збирає в себе на своєму майданчику депутатів, парламентарів всіх 14 країн. І, власне, депутатський вимір міжпарламентської співпраці, він теж є одним із таких ключових етапів і кейсів в самому головуванні. Дякую велике, пане Діо.
Дякую. І у нас на зв'язку в Zoom також директор представництва фонду Ганса Зайделя в Україні. Це фонд, який з 2016 року підтримує проекти по європейській стратегії в Дунайському регіоні, підтримує участь України в різних міжнародних івентах. Ми дуже вдячні пану Зайбелінгу за таку активну підтримку і таку довгу підтримку. Будь ласка, вам пару слів сказати, пан Зайбелінг?
From his fund. The floor is yours, Mr. Zaiberling.
For you. Good afternoon to everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today and to discuss with you the potential activities and the way forward to the Ukrainian presidency of the EUSDR, which is will be, when it takes place, but it will be a big event for the whole idea of EUSDR, in our opinion, and of course, especially for Ukraine. I want to thank our partner, the Ukrainian Institute for International Politics. They always think ahead, but this time they topped themselves. They are thinking ahead for 3 to 4 years, and they rightly do so, because I think an event of that magnitude, like the heading the presidency of the EUSDR, needs to be prepared, of course, because Ukraine is in a very special position within the EUSDR. Ukraine is the only country where not the country as such, as a whole, is a member of the EUSDR, but only 4 oblasts are member regions. That means, of course, that within the country, within Ukraine, a lot of convincing needs to be done, that on a federal level, that all the ministries, which are, of course, thinking for the whole country, will focus their activities on the 4 oblasts which are included in the EUSDR. But I think that will not be a big hindrance, because when we look at the history of Ukraine within EUSDR, at least for the last few years, there is a rapid growing of acceptance, of understanding in the Ukrainian governmental spheres, in the leading ministries of the EUSDR, and in the oblasts, recognizable that the meaning and the powerful instrument the EUSDR is for Ukraine is accepted and is realized. And when we see the progress we had done from, let's say, 5 years ago, when virtually there had been a feeling that nobody is really knowing what is EUSDR and not many people were actually interested in it, when we compare it to the situation today, it's like day and night. So I think the acceptance of the instrument and the readiness to cooperate of Ukraine within the EUSDR context has grown dramatically. And if it will continue, and if you will work together to prepare for the presidency in 2023-24, that can be a big success. And I think that will be a very strong signal that a non-EU member country, a member of the EUSDR, can be successful heading that institution. That will be a very powerful signal to the European partnership countries as such, and of course to the countries, especially the non-EU countries within the European strategy, Danube strategy. So I think that's why we are all putting all our efforts to that event. We will support UAP, the partners and the ministries in preparing to that event. That there will be really a highlight for the way of Ukraine in the cooperation and the cooperation with European organizations, institutions like EUSDR, which unfortunately is up to date one of the few instruments where Ukraine is wholeheartedly a member of that European structure. I hope that will be not the last of these organizations and points. And again, I think Ukraine can make a very big statement through a successful presidency. Thank you.
Дякую, пан Зайбелінг, за таку надихаючу розмову. Насправді...
Thank you very much, Mr. Zaiberling, for your inspiring and warm words. Back in 2016, when we started that work, we had to explain in much detail what it was about and why it was important for Ukraine to deal with this issue. Today, much more representatives from the local authorities and from the central authorities, they are much more involved to the topic. I would like to invite Mr. Serhiy Sayenko, Deputy Director of the US and NATO department from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Would you please explain why Ukrainian chairmanship is important for us, what Ukraine may offer, what commitments it may take. Also, we have coordinators from Bulgaria and Slovakia. I also would like to remind to the audience that you may write your comments and questions in chat in our platform. Understanding that we are approaching very rapidly to the year 2022, to the chairmanship, we clearly understand that we have to start preparatory steps. Sir, he is coming. Thank you. That's why we had prepared several comments about our vision, what we have to do. In the past, non-EU members never took chairmanship in such initiatives. This is one of 4 European initiatives where non-EU member countries are allowed, and this is extremely important for us not to waste them chance. In Ukraine, we have 4 oblasts, 4 regions which are involved into this strategy. Odessa, Ivano-Frankivsk, Chernivtsi, and Zakarpattia regions, and those 4 regions should be involved into special policies aimed at the implementation of the Danube strategy. As I already mentioned, the Danube strategy is very specific, and it has its own structure, and that is why we when we were offered to take chairmanship, we understood that we are very much interested, and we at early stage initiated the public discussion and established special consultations in the coordination center to prepare to the chairmanship as early as possible. With this, I would like to show you my presentation. We had prepared this roadmap to understand clearly what activities does the chairmanship cover, whether there is the need to cover all possible sorts of activities. Perhaps it's more effective to focus just on some of them. That's why we have focused on the key measures, formation of the top priority for our chairmanship, whether we want to take chairmanship in all the meetings and events of this strategy. We doubt actually that this is needed. Perhaps we should focus on what is interesting for the majority of the participants. Then we understood that we have to build up joint work with the European Commission, with the Executive Secretariat, and the 3 on the key topics, subject for discussion for definite period. The executive secretariat of the strategy are deployed in Vienna and Budapest, and the trinity, or the three participants group, which includes the previous chairman, the current chairman, and the following the subsequent chairman in the organization, that are three coordinators who jointly try to maintain continuity in the topics raised and discussed within the strategy. We also have chosen presentations at the events on the framework of the Week of the Cities and Regions. Traditionally, this is the event, representatives of all the four macro regional strategies meet and discuss the best practices, and thus four macro-regional strategies could be compared and share with the best practices. Then we decided to suggest to have two meetings of the national coordinators of EUSDR in Ukraine to discuss the top priority issues. We also thought about the annual ministerial summit where the line ministers meet and sign the joint declaration. Also, interparliamentary conference of the EUSDR. This is a very special platform. Additional events for the stakeholders may cover business fora, SMEs, platforms, conferences for investors, innovation fora, and local self-government initiatives, etc. This might be exhibitions and fairs where the Danube strategy projects might be presented, as well as trans-border cooperation. Actually, this will be the possibility for non-EU country may find the way how to join some projects involving EU countries based on the strategy platform. The body which is responsible for the chairmanship implementation. We were looking at the experience of our Bulgarian and Hungarian colleagues, and we came to conclusion that we perhaps have to establish a task force under the leadership of Vice Prime Minister of the European and Euro-Atlantic integration. Or alternatively, looking at the topics which will be selected for chairmanship, we decided that we may involve the other vice prime ministers. Why this is important because we understand that during the chairmanship we plan to have the ministerial council in Kiev and the summit of ministers. That's why it is important to ensure support to such summit at all levels in Ukraine. The task force on the EUSDR chairmanship in Ukraine should, of course, include national coordinator from Ukraine and representatives of the ministries which are involved, which are stakeholders on this topic. And may ensure coordination between the priorities of the strategy. We do not wish to have a lot of people here. We do not wish to have those people who may only preside. We want to have a small task force of people who will practically work on the presidency of Ukraine in this platform. It is very important that the work of this body would be very steadfast and straightforward, efficient, and could have access to the Vice Prime Minister to resolve the issues rapidly. Looking at the potential work of this group, we recollected Ukrainian presidency in the ESCU, in the OSCE, and at that time the special task force was established inside the Ukrainian government, and it made this work rather smooth. Understanding that the top priorities for presidency should be defined very clearly, we try to analyze our strengths, our opportunities, and we have chosen several topics to be discussed as potential top priorities. We took into consideration the fact that we in Ukraine should either have a good practice in implementation of those top priorities, or those top priorities should be reflected in our association agreement as the issue for the Danube region. And also we kept in mind that those potential topics should be interesting for all for members of the strategy. It is very important that the topic offered for your presidency should be interesting for other participants. So based on that, we offered the green infrastructure, the digitalization, the mobility, all sorts of mobility related to all sorts of transport, railroads, water, etc. Digitalization also might be interesting in Ukraine, this topic had become one of the key areas for association agreement and one of the basic areas mobilized now due to the pandemic outburst. Either environment, ecology, green energy, actually all those sectors might be united and penetrated by the digitalization topic. Another potential top priority might be labor markets, education, and retraining. The Ministry of Education is one of the coordinators in the strategy, and we thought it might be very good chance to use the capacities of that ministry and discuss possible cooperation between countries in the under the view of labor markets, etc. And the last, but not least, was the big topic of innovations. We might here either offer one big topic or offer several subtopics, which also brings in researchers, scientists, search for better solutions in the economy and in society. Now, very briefly about the steps. Perhaps it may look excessively detailed. Nevertheless, we just wanted to provide as detailed vision of the way as possible. So the first step should be a decision about interest, then the notice to the national coordinators, all the 13 national coordinators, about Ukraine's willingness to preside. At that stage, we should not suggest specific interests or topics. It's just enough to express the interest, then official confirmation about possibility to take presidency, then establishment of the task force under the leadership of the Vice Prime Minister, then open discussion as to the top priorities to understand what level of synergy is possible for each topic. Then final decision as to the top priorities of the presidency, then the concepts for the top priorities should be developed, then presentation of the concept should take place both in EU and Ukraine. Then the action plan is to be developed. If we want to take presidency in 2022, then step 9 should be ready in January 2021. Then we had to decide about financial resources and official formation of the delegation for participation in annual forum. In November, in November 2021 as the latest. In Bratislava, Ukrainian delegation should be able to accept the sign of presidency from the Slovak delegation, and thus the Ukrainian presidency in the Danube strategy may become possible. We looked at the example how a presidency of Slovakia in 2026 was held. So they had chosen the top priorities, water resources. This is Hungary 2017 energy security, energy in the region, infrastructure development, and environmentally clean interrelations. On the photo, you see how the sign, the emblem of the Danube strategy is handled to the national coordinator of Hungary. And in 2018, Bulgaria took the presidency. Here you see how this emblem is handed to Bulgaria. The main topics were cultural inheritance and tourism. Ukraine very actively participated in all those events. We believe that now we have accumulated very positive experience. This, in brief, was a review of our plans, and with this I give the floor to the moderator. I'm happy to give the floor to Mr. Michal Blaszka, National Coordinator of the EUSDR from Slovakia. And Slovakia will take presidency in the organization in 2021. Slovakia supports Ukraine in several transborder projects and at the governmental level. So, Mr. Blaszko, the word is yours.
Do we have connection with Michal? Maybe we will connect another speaker. Vadim Galichuk, first deputy of the Committee of Verkhovna Rada concerning integration of Ukraine with EU. As we've said before, one of the elements of presidency of the country is interparliamentary meetings and meetings at the level of the parliament of the 14 nations that participate in the Danube strategy. That's why for us it is important to hear how the Verkhovna Rada is able to influence the process and to propose to other parliaments important discussions for Ukraine. Welcome, Vadim. Hello? Do you hear me? Yes, we hear you. Thank you. I hear English translation. Is there technical opportunity to disconnect me from translation? Technically, it is difficult for me. It is difficult to hear. Maybe. Please try to take your headphones off, and then you will be able to hear better and do not hear English version. Greetings. I'm grateful to organizers for the invitation, for organizing such a meeting, and I believe that this is really important to hold this event now because a lot of work is ahead of us. There should be many preparatory meetings, and we have an opportunity to join beforehand to these preparatory events. We are really glad that we will have such an opportunity to preside in this macro-regional strategy for the Danube region. For us, this is an important platform, not only in the context of macro-regional strategy, but also in the context of our Europe integration efforts. This may be a powerful instrument to speed up the processes of Euro integration. We will have an opportunity to join to new financial instruments of the European Union and to get the experience of 14 EU countries, those countries who implement the strategy. For us, as a committee of the Verkhovna Rada on Euro integration, it is really important to use these opportunities and to bring our deputies to cooperation with their colleagues from EU countries at different platforms, both parliamentary committees, different groups of friendship, and we believe that there will be great interest to this project, and we believe that many colleagues from different committees will be able to join active cooperation. Priority number 1 is the agenda of our presidency, and here we hope for active cooperation with all stakeholders in order to have saturated, interesting agenda, several issues of interest. We've discussed them. This is the agenda. We should pay attention to an important topic, digitalization, digital EU markets. We believe that this will be included in this strategy and will be implemented. And also the creation, and it was mentioned today, to create a task force, a powerful group that will bring active stakeholders to the process. It was mentioned before that this should be relevant. Vice Premier and deputy ministers, and also oblast state administrations and councils should join. Those who follow the events in Ukraine, they are well aware that now in Ukraine we have a local election campaign on the backdrop of deep reforms on decentralization. New local councils will be formed, and we hope that the strategy that new talents involvement to actively participate in local policy. This will give rise to positive effects, and we will be able to reload our local power, and they will become active participants of the process. We also hope to implement the concept of creation of offices on Euro integration in each oblast state administration. And I am glad to inform that recently, last week in Kherson, the first such office of Euro integration was registered, and we will scale up this project. We will actively involve the regions we've mentioned. They will join this project, and we will have formal structures set based on which we hope we will be able to create a comprehensive plans of actions in order that Presidency of Ukraine be efficient to reach those goals we set. Thank you very much for this invitation. Thank you for this timely initiative, and the Committee on Euro Integration, of course, joins this process, and we will do everything possible in order to use all those instruments that we have in order to efficiently use our opportunities in the parliament, the capabilities of our parliamentarians and Europarliamentarians and parliamentarians of other countries in order to implement this strategy to the maximum. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Vadim. Thank you for your support. And we hope that we will be able to work with you in order to prepare Ukraine to the presidency of Ukraine in EUSDR. And Michal Blaszka is with us. He is the national coordinator from Slovakia. Please, Michal, you are given the floor.
Yes, good afternoon from Slovakia. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear. Hi.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you. У нас величезне прохання до пана Міхала.
We ask Michal to tell us about the challenges for Slovakia when you got prepared to 2016 and 2021. What are the main tasks you had, and how did you identify the tasks? Maybe you may be able to tell about these years. Because your experience is unique, and we have the opportunity to compare the years of your presidency and how the situation changed and how your experience changed, what you had in 2016 and what you have here now in 2020 when you are preparing to 2021. Now you're given the floor, please.
I hope everything works well and you can hear me. So it's yeah, fine. I can hear. I can see the thumb up. Okay, so it's not an easy topic, of course, but yes, for sure we are quite looking forward to our presidency. And I think one of the best things that could happen is that the follow-up after us will be hopefully from Ukraine, that Ukraine will be the next presidency after Slovakia. I think there is a big, one of the biggest reasons why I am, let's say, really satisfied with this is that Slovakia can be kind of a bridge between the EU member states and non-EU member states. Let's take into account not only the geographical point of view, but also, let's say, the mentality or history. So I think that this is really good starting point. Experience and maybe lessons learned from our, let's say, last presidency during 2016. Maybe I can summarize some of them. Of course, the one of the most important things or issues is to plan and prepare for the presidency reasonably in advance. And this is really good to see you here in even before our presidency, that you are, let's say, talking about your presidency in 2022. So it's really good to see that you are really aware of this issue, that you have to plan and prepare the presidency reasonably in advance, and this is really nice to see. Let's say during our presidency in 2016, it was really necessary to plan dates and venues of all the meetings that we assumed well in advance. Strategy consists of many stakeholders, and it's not really easy sometimes to find the time for everybody to join the event. Hopefully, maybe at least in 2021 and the next years, the meetings will be held not only online, but also in person. So we will kind of fight this pandemic and COVID-19. But it's really necessary to plan the dates and venues really in advance. What was really important was to prepare the EUSDR annual forum, because it's the highest, it's the most important, I would say, activity of the presidency during the presidency, and it's really visible action. Many people attend the meeting, the forum, so it's really necessary. And what we deemed as especially important during this preparatory phase of the annual forum is to discuss the topics, to discuss the format, and closely cooperate and discuss all aspects of the annual forum with the European Commission, of course, DTP, DSP, and TRIO as well. I think the good thing or the very nice experience was to organize the annual forum together with the DTP annual event. And I think that this will be maybe even more important even during your presidency or assumed presidency, because DTP should be one of the most important financing tools for you to improve, maybe to improve the management of the strategy. What is necessary, or what was necessary during the presidency? Sufficient administrative capacities have to be considered. Really, at least during 2 or 3 months before the annual forum, the workload will considerably grow, and you will have to react quite quickly to preparatory issues. We had a ministerial meeting. This is something what is really important. We need to have a political will to implement the strategy, and the ministerial meetings are of the most important topics or things that we need to prepare and we need to do during our presidency. Without political support, we can do very much. So I think this is really important. So I think during our presidency, maybe what I just mentioned were the most important, let's say, experience or lessons learned. And maybe when talking about our 2021 presidency, so coming presidency of Slovakia within the EUSDR, it's of course, it's a bit different. We are older, we are more experienced, and we, of course, prepared some topics. We prepared some program that we would like to implement during our presidency, of course. We have to react on current challenges within the strategy, of course. I think very good thing that has a strategy achieved recently was to implement was to do the new action plan of the EUSDR. So I think that we have kind of a very good and well equipped and well elaborated document, and this is a basics for the next implementing of the Danube strategy, and we can build on it for sure. So we need to let's say to push or to get into the implementation phase of the revision of the US direction plan. From my point of view, what is really necessary, if you even take into consideration the size of the new action plan, out of 80% out of 80 pages of this document is about the work of priority area coordinator. 70 pages of the document are about the work of priority area coordinator. So I really think that the Danube strategy, or the heart of the strategy, the beating heart of the strategy, the most precious, the most valuable, the most precious thing is the work of priority area coordinator. So I think that during our presidency, we have to focus on them. We have to ask them what they need. We have to listen to them carefully, and we have to implement measures, tools, and activities that would help in their works, and that would help them to do their job more sufficient. I am not just talking about formal point of view about the participation of the partner states in the steering group meetings, although it's one of very important and necessary steps that needs to be addressed, or issues that need to be addressed. But we need to try to have an active participation of the states, of involved countries in each priority area. We have to find the way how to implement the projects that they have in their mind. We need to find maybe even the political will to implement it. And this is very important. So from my point of view, the most important thing we have to focus during our presidency is to focus on activities and tools for priority area coordinators for their better life. So maybe at the beginning, if I may just.
Дякую, пане.
Thank you, Michal, for these fruitful recommendations. And we believe that the action plan is one of the main components of preparation to presidency in the Danube strategy. And this is important to focus on plans, to focus on results that we want to achieve after the year of presidency, to understand where money will come from, and also about financing and yearly forums financing. This is really important for us from Danube national program, because we had issues and we resolved them, and we plan next events now, and we will speak about it on Facebook. That's why follow our news on Facebook. Now I give the floor to the next speaker, the representative of the Secretariat of the National Coordinator of Bulgaria. This is Slav Yardanova.
Hello.
The connection is good?
Yeah.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can
Okay.
hear you. We just wanted...
Okay.
Ми хотіли вас запитати...
We wanted to ask you about the Bulgarian experience. As far as I know, you were member of the team of the Bulgarian national coordinator, and within a year you supported coordination between 14 countries and coordinated all the events which happened in Bulgaria during the year of Bulgarian presidency. That's why it is important to hear from you what we should keep in mind, what we should focus, and what we have to continue after the year of presidency.
Yes, I was part of our task force or our structure responsible for the preparation and for the holding of the Bulgarian presidency. First, let me thank you very much for the invitation and to participate in today's discussion. We really welcome the willingness of Ukraine to take over the EUSDR presidency in 2022. And this will be really the first example for a non-EU member states taking over the EUSDR presidency. That will be really a good example for such development of the strategy. What was really important, the national coordinator of Slovakia already outlined some of the important elements that you should take in account when you start to prepare your presidency. The most important to start quite in advance. I can tell you at least 1.5 years we started our preparation. Even 2 years ago, we combined our presidency of EUSDR with the presidency of Council of the EU. It was quite challenging, but at least this kind of presidency, having both presidency, help us a lot to prepare in effective way for the presidency. The most important to have a successful presidency, I can outline like to have a good coordination between relevant institutions at national level. You already mentioned that you plan to establish a task force. I think it's in the right direction. It should have really a structure that it's responsible for the practical implementation of the whole presidency. Then a close coordination should be established also with the Commission and with the DSP. Unfortunately, during the Bulgarian presidency, we didn't have a DSP, but you can appreciate that DSP could help also a lot within the preparation of your next presidency. What was also important that you should really focus on 1 or 2 key priorities. It's not possible to cover all priorities of EUSDR. Then it's really important for you to outline which will be the most important, the key priorities for Ukraine. In our case, it was cultural heritage and tourism, and then to work for these priorities. The National Coordinator of Slovakia mentioned also plan and prepare quite in advance. Also, you should establishing this task force. You should have a really sufficient administrative capacity of people that can prepare the presidency. Also, I think you have changed with Slovakia because Slovakia will take over the presidency for the second time. Then this is a good partner within the trio presidency that could help Ukraine in the whole process. Also, for each presidency, it's important to ensure a continuity of the work of the EUSDR, then to follow the other priorities that the other presidency started, like in our case, we already revised the action plan and we should concentrate it on the implementation of them. The revised priorities. And one thing which is quite important for the future, and that we also work a lot on this, that we should concentrate to have more strategic approach within the implementation of strategy in order really to achieve tangible results, to try to have all member states, all participating countries to be ready to implement some strategic projects which are quite important for the region. Thank you very much.
Дякую, Дісіслава.
Thank you, Disislava. We absolutely agree with what you mentioned, and thank you very much for your emphasis on the specificity of priorities, not to choose too many, but to focus on 1, 2, maximum 3, and this would allow us to focus on the most important issues for the well-being of people here in the Danube region. With this, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Serhiy Sayenko, Deputy Director of the EU-NATO Department in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine. Serhiy, thank you very much for your support to the Danube strategy. We appreciate your work on lobbying this initiative in Ukrainian regions, which is so important for the development for Ukrainian regions. I would like to thank the Institute of Ukrainian International Policy. Also, I'm very grateful to the Hans Seidel Foundation in Ukraine, because I understand that only jointly, all together, we may reach a meaningful result. I fully agree with my colleagues from Slovakia and Bulgaria that Ukraine's future chairmanship is important to be based on the regional policy. For us, it's a chance to make use of this temporary regional leadership to build the future long-term regional leadership. And we appreciate very much that for the first time this chance will be given to the non-EU member country. And we understand that efficient work of the coordination bodies, administrative management of the processes, and broad support by the governmental establishment inside the country are key for the success of this initiative, as our partners mentioned. We understand that the strategic center of the Danube strategy is ready to help us, and we expect for this assistance very much. What also was emphasized by our Bulgarian and Slovak colleagues, this is the continuity of priorities. When the presidency moves from one country to another country, it is important to ensure that the previous achievements are maintained and developed in the following chairmanship. We also are keen to form our vision of the presidency priorities as soon as possible and be ready to present it at the next meeting. We also learn much from the previous presidency programs. We clearly understand the interests of Slovakia related to the future of the Green Agreement. We understand also that economic revival and the digital aspects are promising topics for discussions. I'm very grateful to Ms. Desislava for recommendation to look carefully on the topic and wait carefully what we can launch efficiently during our presidency. We also may look at the adaptation of the region to the climate change, development of the water transportation. The main thing is to ensure sustainability in our priority. What is also important about future presidency, that it will take place in the new political cycle of the European Union. That's why we have to think carefully about efficient mechanisms, political mechanisms which could be used and which would be efficient at the regional and the national level. I would like to mention that we expect for the parliamentary dialogue next year, we will launch in Ukraine the regional initiatives at the regional level in Ukraine. We started to get some feedback from Odessa, from the Carpathia regions this year, and we believe that Ukrainian regions which participate in this strategy, they will be able to offer something interesting. We are ready to mobilize all our internal resources and potential to offer good and interesting and beneficial program for Ukrainian presidency in the EU strategies to the Danube River. Thank you. We have several questions from our web, from our Facebook page. These are questions to all our participants. If you want to answer, please signal. So the question, where we are, whether Ukraine, as to the presidency, whether Ukraine has already submitted the request and whether this request was accepted or appointment. As far as I know, we have not submitted the official request yet. It is important that this is now the right moment to request for participation in the presidency in 2022. Unfortunately, Ukrainian national coordinator is unwell now and he is not participating in this conference, but I hope that this week Ukraine will submit its request. And as soon as the official request is submitted, then we will be able to start consultations. As for this body, about the task force, perhaps. Thinking about this body, we tried to understand whether the national coordinator in Ukraine was able to ensure the presidency, and it became clear for us that for Ukraine, today's coordinator's office is unable to ensure communication which might be needed at the level of the Ukraine's potential presidency. That's why we decided to create a special platform for Ukraine's presidency, special task force, which will be established for the period of Ukrainian presidency. I would like to add that the session of the Coordination Council is to shape our strategic vision, how to participate in the process, then to plan steps that should be taken to submit the request, then Ukraine's vision of the agenda, and what is also very important to analyze the initiatives which arrive from the local regions or from the experts. So it is important to bring together the ideas and efficient coordination at the level of some governmental body. I hope that in nearest future we will witness how the discussion on the future agenda will happen, and what the priorities will be chosen, and actually we will see the beginning of this process. I have a small comment. This is for our Office of the National Coordinator, which is today with us. I want to remind to the coordination office that we should, we as a country, first have to express our interest in the presidency, and at next stage will be to decide about our priorities for the presidency. These are two things which we should understand and on which we should focus. You have to decide in general whether we want to take presidency in 2022, and the separate story will be to decide about the priorities. This step will require involvement of the ministries, involvement of the regions, to understand what we want to offer as the top priority for the presidency in January 21 at the summit. Thank you, dear colleagues. We have one more question. Perhaps it's the question to our Slovakian or Bulgarian colleagues. The question is as follows: what have you got from the presidency? What have your countries got from the presidency? How you benefited from the presidency of your country?
From Slovakia, just the question, the previous question about the formal process of for selection of the presidency for 2022. I think it's just I would like to comment on this, because I think this formality will be the task of the next presidency, of Slovak presidency within the EUSDR. We have to start the formal process, and I think it's quite an important thing for us, and we really hope that Ukraine will be the one that will take it. But another thing what came into my mind, we have not to forget about the DSP, about the Danube strategy point. I think we haven't discussed this in our previous discussion, but we have to say or to admit that at the end of 2021, so let's say more or less at the beginning of the hopefully Ukraine presidency in the USDR, the current project of Danube strategy point will finish, will be over. So it will be our task during our presidency that we have to prepare the new project, and we really would like and want to discuss it with you, with Ukraine as a non-EU member state, because it's as far as I know, the whole Europe is, let's say, talking about the Danube strategy point as one of the best practices within the EUSDR, and I would vote for it, that it is like this. And I think we need to prepare for the future, maybe even better approach, even better DSP than it is now. And I talked, of course, I had a discussion with the DSP head that they are, of course, willing to discuss about this and to prepare the next project well in advance. So it will suit you as the first non-EU member state holding the presidency. So I think we really have not to forget about this topic, and we will take this really into account, and it's gonna be one of our let's say highest priorities during our presidency, to prepare this project as good as possible to serve you as the next president. So this is really important, and maybe I would maybe continue with the second question. What we, let's say, took from the presidency. For me, it is not an easy question because during the 2016, it was my first year in EUSDR, and I, let's say, took the responsibilities or the agenda during this year. So, for me, the biggest, let's say, the biggest thing was to organize the annual forum. I was really surprised. We had almost 1,000 people gathered during these 2 days in Bratislava. We had a big problem to find such a big building to to take that many people. And I was really surprised that this huge amount of people were, let's say, involved and were willing to listen about the Danube strategy. So from my point of view, it was quite a big issue that the strategy, let's say, had that attention from that many people through the whole, let's say, Europe, or at least Danube region. So I think this is something that we can really build upon, and we need to discuss, to talk, to let's say, to make some advertisement about the strategy even in nowadays. So the people will have an information how the strategy is implementing, how what achievements we achieved, and I think this is something what was really important during our presidency. Thank you very much.
Дякую, Міхал. Дісіслава, можна вам передати слово буквально?
Disislava, will you please take the floor and describe what was beneficial for Bulgaria from your presidency in the Danube strategy?
Maybe one of the things that it was really important that we decided to combine both presidencies, to have EUSDR presidency together with the presidency of the Council of the European Union. And this helped us really to promote a lot the strategy during this year at the European level as well, in order that we had actually had a lot of events organized within both presidency, and that really helped us to do the strategy more visible. And the other thing that it's also the whole actually process was quite challenging, but also a good opportunity, because with the annual forum we also had more or less 1,000 people participating in the annual forum. We had chance to bring people from the region in Bulgaria and to discuss one of the I think quite important topic, the cultural heritage and the tourism. And this really this is something that we could really describe as an achievement, that actually through the annual forum we can promote the strategy and have a lot of people from the region within each participating countries. That will be also the case of the Ukraine, and that the annual forum will help each country really to show the country from the region, to discuss different topics and to bring people from different communities, business, academia, administration, etc.
Дякую, Дісіславе. У нас є буквально пару хвилин до закінчення.
We have 2 minutes before before the wrap up. If we have some other questions or comments, we do not have further questions or comments, then I would like to mention the following. The annual forum for Danube strategy this year will be held online on the website of Ukrainian Institute of International Policy. You may register for participation and watch it online. The only thing that you would not be able to communicate personally as usually at the annual forum of the strategy, but nevertheless you will be able to get the flavor of that event. Also on our UIIP website we have the registration for the week of the regions and cities event, and you may also register for online participation. Due to the international situation with the pandemic, you may participate in all those events online without almost limitation and join and benefit from that. Today's event will be accessible on our website. You may offer your questions on the website, ask questions in chat, and we will answer them. About our roadmap, we will disseminate our roadmap to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to the National Coordinator of the Danube strategy in Ukraine, and to the Vice Prime Minister on European integration. I hope that this will be useful right now. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you for participation. We are very grateful to Mr. Blashko, to Ms. Yordanova. Thank you so much. Thank you for participating offline here in this room, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.